It's the Draftsmen Show.
How you doing, fellas? Love the podcast. My name's Danny. Quick question. Myself, Toth, wannabe comic book artist, and I'm wondering how you go about getting a mentor in this day and age. I know it's easy with emails and texts and social media and stuff, but you always hear stories of Alex Toth would take letters from young kids and write back in depth about their work and critique them and do that on an ongoing basis, on a monthly basis. I get people's schedules are hectic with deadlines and stuff, but I'm wondering how you go about approaching a professional artist to be a mentor in that capacity. Thanks, guys. Love the show again. Cheers. Bye-bye.
So he's referring to Tim Gula approaching Alex Toth and saying, I want to be your mentor, and Alex saying yes?
I don't know if he was referring to that, but that type of story. Yeah. Did he say Tim?
Maybe. Well, he didn't mention Tim, but he was talking about Alex Toth as a mentor.
Oh, he was talking about
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was. Some students have the audacity to approach even world-famous talent and say, I want you to be my mentor. And the obvious response is, I am sorry, I am very busy.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they have the audacity to say, listen to me. You will regret not having me as your mentee. And if you can convince them, then the conviction comes from what's in it for them.
So to increase your odds of them saying yes, you have to be mentorable.
Good point.
You have to be someone that somebody would want to mentor. That means you have to be likable. They don't want to talk to someone who's annoying and maybe disrespectful, or who they don't think even has a chance. Mm-hmm. You know, people have opinions. Mm-hmm. Someone might look at an artist and say, "Yeah, you're too far. I can't help you." Mm-hmm. Or they might just think that. It's natural for us to think that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they might just not want to put that effort in. But if they see some kid who has the drive and puts in the time and is already showing signs of skill, they might want to get some of that credit. Yeah. Of like, ooh, I can help them out, and then they'll give me credit for helping them.
Yeah.
That's the part of like, what's in it for me? Yeah. That's the answer, is they'll get credit for making you. These stories you tell of, you know, someone getting trained by someone else, and then that person looks like a master because they trained Bridgman, you know.
Right.
Or like Bridgman trained Rockwell, right?
That's right.
You know,
trained
like
Rockwell,
Bridgman seems like a god because he mentored Rockwell.
Yeah.
You know, so if you are mentorable, then you have a much higher chance of getting a mentor.
And promising. You're talking about being mentorable, but also promising that.
Yes, yeah. Mentorable, and well, that's part of being mentorable, I think.
Yeah. You're worth mentoring.
Worth mentoring, yeah. The other thing, though, is paying people. If you're not mentorable, you can still pay people to mentor you, which is the less attractive option.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can, there's people on Patreon, skilled artists, who you can pay them a certain amount per month, and they will have a Skype session with you once every few weeks or something, whatever everyone has a different thing that they sell. I know one is Stephen Bauman. Mm-hmm. He's got a waiting list at this point because he's actually a really good mentor. Yeah. So it's not as easy anymore, but yeah, he has a Patreon where you can sign up, pay him like $100 a month and have a Skype session with him. That's a great deal, because if you come to him and you say, hey, mentor me for free, he's gonna be like, no, I don't have time. I'm sorry. But if you help me buy dinner, I'll give you an hour of my time. Yeah. So that's the other option.
If you are paying a mentor, you are the client. The mentor is the supplier. You are interviewing the mentor. You are deciding whether this is worth your money. If you go after someone who is world class, how are you going to pay them enough if their time is worth
Stephen Bauman is
$300 an hour? Pardon?
He is world class.
And he's affordable?
$100 a month, I think, is for like a. I don't want to.
Yeah, but that's
you could look at his Patreon, but it is affordable. Yes.
if he's world class and he's affordable.
But he's got a waiting list,
Yeah.
so now it's harder to.
Yeah.
But yeah, get on the waiting list. What?
You mentioned buying dinner. One of the things that you could do, if you've got 2 or 3 of you who say, look, we admire this artist, we know this artist's time is valuable, but we will take you to a dinner at restaurant of your choice or a lunch, restaurant of your choice. If you will give us 2 hours of time, you can order anything you want. Everybody pitches into it, and then you come prepared to ask them the most important questions. And if you get someone to do that twice a year, you're getting mentoring. Why are you wincing?
If someone came to me with that, I would say no.
Why?
Because then I know I would feel pressured to give them something back. They bought me dinner.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I owe you something.
But the thing you're giving them is your time.
I would still feel the pressure that time wasn't enough. I know they're expecting something more than just that one dinner.
What if they aren't? What if
come on.
What if because they come to you with a series of questions?
Yeah.
Say, tell us the story of how you got started. Here's another thing.
So that dinner is the mentor session?
Is the mentorship. Yes.
Okay. They'd have to pitch it well enough to say that I don't expect anything afterwards. Then I'd be like, okay, now I'm open to it.
But pitching to your mentor is a preliminary to pitching to any potential client for a project. Yeah. You're trying to convince them. Do not approach a person who you want to mentor you and ask them questions that they have already answered in interviews on the internet that you have not paid attention to. Isaac Asimov was asked to be interviewed by an interviewer, and Asimov asked him a few questions, and he told the guy, "You do not know my work well enough to get an interview with me."
Wow.
Because one of the things that becomes tiresome to people in the industry is they get the same question over and over. Yeah. So find out what they've already said, then you can question into the gaps. The point that Asimov is making is that there needs to be a certain amount of respect for what is already out there. So if you respect that, and then you come in, not to show your knowledge, but to say, look, we've read everything that you've said, but we've got some questions, and you have not talked about these first few jobs. We want to ask you about that. And then if they give you their time, take it seriously. Yeah. And it was in the early 90s that Justin Sweet wanted to interview me. He was my student at Fullerton Community College. And he sat me down and asked me a series of questions. He recorded them, and I answered the best I could, but I answered for any students that I could. A year later, he wanted to interview me again, and that next year, he said, "Last year I asked you this, and you said this." And he did that several times, and I thought, everything I answered, he took those answers seriously enough to remind me of the exact wording that I did, and there was something that clicked in my brain. Mm-hmm. This guy takes it seriously.
That makes him more mentorable.
Indeed.
Because you know that all the effort you put in to help this person is worth taking the effort to do so, because it will actually help them.
Yes.
If you think people will not take you seriously and take it for granted, then it's just a waste of time.
He told me a decade later that every time I mentioned a movie, every time I mentioned a book, every time I mentioned an author, he wrote it down, which I always noticed that he did. Mm-hmm. But he also, before the internet, used to look those things up and scour bookstores to find that artist. So yes, there are people who are worth mentoring. And this brings up the other thing about mentors wanting to mentor you, is that when they see you are going to be a part of history.
Aren't you proud that Justin Sweet is one of your mentees?
You're am just like,
yeah, look at me.
Yes, it's like, look, I taught him.
I am Marshall Vandruff, mentor of Justin Sweet.
There is a good deal of that. And I've got some students now that I feel the same way about. I always had students that I feel like this person is going to make a mark on the industry. They're great, and it is a privilege, even at junior college wages, to be playing that role. So if you really are seeking a mentor, make yourself attractive as a mentee, and that's going to be the difference between whether you get it or don't.
Low-doo-doo-doo-doo, low-doo-doo-doo-doo, low-doo-doo-doo-doo.